Welcome on in to Wager Talk Extra, where each Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we remind you that no matter what sport you're cashing on, that money is all going to spend the same. And boy, oh boy, do we have a treat for you. We have 4 guests. Well, I guess technically we have 3 guests breaking down 4 different options for you to get your money down on. We're kicking off the show with my man Andy Lang talking a little UFC. Then my man Kyle Anthony going to give his thoughts on the UFC card this weekend. And then sprinting to and from the studio, Andy Lang going to be coming back, getting you set up for NASCAR action. And then my man Kevin Dolan going to shut it all down for you. Has a soccer play that's going Thursday afternoon and a boxing play that's going on Saturday. So all kinds of sports for you to get down on. So with a jam-packed show, let's get right into it. Welcome in Andy Lang. Talk a little UFC here on Wager Talk Extra. Andy Lang cashed another big ticket play in UFC. So we get closer and closer to dressing up like the Flair family, Andy. And I know you're probably just as excited as me. Not to dress like Charlotte Flair, but the fact that your clients and you just keep cashing in. But maybe you're excited about the cross-dressing special we'll have coming up here. I don't know.
If we keep cashing these plays, I would be more than happy to dress like Charlotte Flair. Hey, because that means I'll have more than enough money to buy the robe. That's what this means. So
it's all about the robe.
Yes. Great run on 5% plays. 3-1 on There Will Be Blood, including hitting our first female fight in There Will Be Blood as Casey O'Neill comes through against Jennifer Maia. So, overall, it was a great week in UFC. And this card, a lot of names that the casual UFC fan may not know. I know them really well because we have a lot of guys coming off of Contender Series and females coming off of Contender Series. So this card sets up beautifully for me.
Yeah, and not only did we get another cash in on the There Will Be Blood fight, it was also the first time that we ever had an F word in any of our sound drops here on Wager Talk Extra. So I know our man Johnny Detroit really loved that, but hey, we were just quoting the fighter. That's what we have to do. All right, Andy Lang, you alluded to it, man. So let's get right into it. It's my favorite segment. It's your favorite segment. It's There Will Be Blood.
I want your blood. I want your soul. And I want them both right now.
We want them both right now. So we cashed on a female fight. Are you going back to the well, or are you looking elsewhere for this week's There Will Be Blood matchup? Where do you think there's going to be some haymakers, Andy?
Well, we're going to go back to the men's division. We're going to go Austin Lingo versus Nate Landwehr. And I think this fight has violence written all over it. So first off, both guys are really tough. Nate Landwehr came into the UFC and just fought like an animal. Like, he wasn't controlled, like way too much emotion, and it cost him several times. You know, he lost to Herbert Burns in his first fight in UFC, which is a terrible loss. He lost in round 1 to Julian Erosa. But his next couple fights, he's really calmed down. One of them went to decision. One of them he got a finish in round 3. But his last fight against David Onama was a war. It was insane. I can't believe both guys made it into the 3rd round. And what Nate Landwehr has done is he's got himself much more under control, and his striking is great. His clinch work is great. I think that's where we end up seeing the violence come from. Landwehr can push you up against the fence. He can dirty box. He can work the clinch. That's going to be one of his big advantages that he has over Austin Lingo. And Austin Lingo, he's won his last 2 UFC fights, not against great competition. His last fight against Luis Saldana, he was bloodied up and he won, but he won because Luis Saldana got exhausted there at the end. Lingo does not have very good striking defense, and Landwehr is sure to take advantage of that. Landwehr has cardio for days, and Lingo's got a chin on him. So both guys can go for 3 rounds, but they're hard to knock out, and that equals blood for me. So I expect this one to be a pretty brutal fight. I don't expect it to go the distance, so look for there to be blood in Nate Landwehr versus Austin Lingo.
Yeah, and not only does it have the sweetest graphic of all time, this also, I always like reminding people, is a fight that Andy thinks might not be going the distance. So there's a couple different ways to attack it using the handicap that Andy Lang drops there for you. But more so, we just get to joke and laugh and have fun with There Will Be Blood. Andy and I watching the fights, I sent him, if you ever saw that meme where it's like the dude who says sicko looking through the window like, yes, yes, yes. That's us and the fans of WagerTalk Extra watching. There will be blood fights every weekend. Well, not only are we watching for that, we're always watching for a fight to watch. And Andy has a great one that he's eyeing in this one and some strong opinions on it for you, the listeners. And it is Cowan and Vidal. So what are you looking at in this one, Andy?
Well, we got a couple really interesting things about this fight. First off, Hailey Cowan is kind of the new one that they're really wanting to push on the women's side. So Hailey Cowan came in on Contender Series, and I was not a big fan. She should not have won the fight on Contender Series. Shockingly, the judges gave it to her. And shockingly, Dana White gave her a contract, even though you're not supposed to get a contract if you barely win by decision. But Hailey Cowan has a lot of good things going for her. She's very attractive, fantastic on the mic, and her stand-up skills are pretty good. However, she is terrible on the ground. Absolutely terrible. She is a turtle if you can get her on the ground. And this fight against Tamires Vidal, I had predicted that she was going to lose in her last fight because she gets exhausted after the first round. She comes out and throws gigantic haymakers in the first round, and if she doesn't land one, then she's going to lose by cardio. And she landed one of those huge haymakers in the first round. It was a body shot that knocked her opponent out. It was ridiculous. So you've got Hailey Cowan, who's going to try and keep the distance and work the jab, against Vidal, who is looking to land the KO blow early. So this is going to start off with fireworks. Vidal's going to come out, and she's going to try and land. If she doesn't, Cowan is going to keep her at distance, and Cowan will probably grind out a victory, winning rounds 2 and 3. This is a big fight for Cowan because Dana White went on a limb with putting her up in the UFC and giving her the contract. If she doesn't win, he's going to look bad and she's going to look bad. And then they have a really, really tough time pushing her and trying to make her a face. So she needs to come out with a really good game plan. She needs to stay off the fence and not get taken down. The other interesting thing about this fight, Dan, Hailey Cowan opened at plus 195. She is now minus 135. So everybody is betting on Hailey Cowan to avoid the knockout shot early and to escape with the win. If Vidal wins, that's 2 wins in a row over some pretty decent prospects to start her UFC career when people had her predicted to win. So a lot riding on this fight. It's going to be one of the first fights of the night. I believe it may be the first one. Certainly one to keep your eye on, as this is going to tell us a lot about the future of these two women.
Cowan and Vidal, and maybe even riding the steam train as the dog becomes the favorite in this one. That's definitely one that we'll be checking out, and that is Andy Lang's fight to watch. Well, Andy Lang is one of my handicappers to watch because 2023 has been an absolute terrific year for him, only 3 months in. So we're going to continue the cash train. And Andy, I think you're looking to make it another nice weekend with these top-rated plays in UFC. I think you already have one locked and loaded for the clients, right?
5% play up on WagerTalk, and this is plus money or right at even, depending on your book. But yeah, look around because you should be able to get this at plus money. 7-1 run on our 4%, 5% best bets. We cashed another one last Saturday. So this has been one of the best things that we have going for us in 2023. Lots of sports have been really, really kind to us, but these big best bets in UFC certainly should be adding to your portfolio.
So there you go. There's Andy's thoughts on the UFC card. Big thanks to him, and you will be seeing him a little bit later. If you want Kyle Anthony's thoughts, stick around right here on WagerTalk Extra, because after this break, he's going to be breaking down the same card, looking at the main event, and also a fight to watch right here on WagerTalk Extra. So there we go. We got Andy Lang's thoughts. Now let's talk to the man who is the #1 ROI capper in all sports last year. And when he talks MMA, you better be listening. It's Kyle Anthony. And Kyle, I say we get right into it because, I mean, this fight just as big as the Usman fight, right? Sandhagen and Vera, those are household names, just the same as Edwards and Usman last weekend. But all joking aside, this is a pretty darn good weekend as far as the free action goes, man. And you have thoughts here on the main event for us.
Yeah. So I'm excited about it. This is going to be actually, I think, as to your point, they are definitely coming up. This is a title opportunity for both of them if they can get some victories here. But when you're looking at this fight here, you got Cory Sandhagen. He's minus 165. On the comeback here, you've got Vera plus 140. And I think this is going to be a very intriguing matchup on the feet. When you're looking at what these guys can do, you got Cory Sandhagen. He's a volume guy. He's going to be a kind of guy with versatile striking, a lot of those things. And the other side here, you got Vera. He is a bruiser. He's going to push forward. He's got that aggressive style, big power. So those are some of the things I think can help him in this fight. But when you're looking at it, I think the way that Cory can find success is really utilizing that volume, but it's going to be the footwork. It's going to be the distance management. He has to have that in order to have success, because on the other side of it, it's going to be Vera going to be bulldozing forward, pushing forward. And that's been the thing, how he's found success, is really going out there and going out and having that one fight changing shot that changes the fight and allows him to get the victory. And you're looking at it, his last three, Frankie Edgar was winning, getting some takedowns. He gets that knockout in that third round, even against Rob Font, who's a boxer, outlanding Vera early. Vera ended up going out there, getting the power shots, getting the victory. And even against Dominic Cruz most recently, Cruz was out there outlanding him, doing some good things. And then all of a sudden, the head kick, it ends, fight over. So I think that's also the fact that he has these fight-changing moments. He needs them, and I think that's actually a bad thing in this particular fight, because he is very low volume. He's a very low volume guy. He absolutely needs to have these big moments, and he relies on them. He's starting to rely on these big moments and not really outpacing. He's not a minute winner. He's a moment winner, and he's the kind of guy that will win some moments, but could start to let the fight get away from him. And even if Cory Sandhagen is a high volume guy, and then on the other side, you've got Vera, who really is a guy that's slow starter in the beginning, a slow starter, and can allow a round or two to kind of go away from him. So I think those are certain things that can worry him a little bit there, because if you're looking at the striking, I do give that to Cory Sandhagen. I think he's got the better striking. I think he's got the better footwork. I think his combinations are quicker. I do like the fact that he smoothly switches stances from orthodox to southpaw. A lot of these things that he does do very, very well. While, again, Vera, he's going to rely on the one shot, take one to give one. He gets hit a lot more than he actually shoots out there and fires out there. So I do think this is a spot where over time, over this 5 rounds, Cory can get that early lead, chip away, and then I think even if it gets a little dicey later, I think Cory has enough to get the victory. So I do like Cory Sandhagen here. Minus 165, I think, is a good price. He outvolumes him, and I think he gets the job done in the main event.
So you're liking the favorite here, and as you're talking about Vera, I think he would be remiss if his walk-in song wasn't that Eminem song from 8 Mile, where he's talking about one moment, one opportunity. But it sounds like he won't have that opportunity, man. He's going to have vomit on his sweater already. Mom spaghetti. All right, let's get into the fight to watch that you have here for the folks, Kyle, and that's Landwehr and Lingo. Why is this one that you're pretty excited to see play out?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, because both of these guys are barn burner fighters. They're going to push forward. They're going to be swinging. This is going to be an absolute war. You have Landwehr. He's minus 225 on the comeback here for Lingo, plus 185. Now, when you're looking at this, like we're saying, and like everybody knows, these are aggressive guys. They're going to push forward. They're going to be throwing the big shots. And the one thing here is that's really how Nate Landwehr has found success. He goes out there and he just takes a beating, or, kind of utilizing his durability, utilizing his cardio, and he can break guys down over the rounds. And that has been very impressive for him, because when you think you've got him and when you think you've got him in a bad situation, somehow he comes back, he battles back, and he's able to kind of put you in a bad situation. He's got the chin, he's got heart, he keeps coming forward. But with that being said, that's also kind of could be a question mark for him. Now he's getting a little bit older. He's got a lot of MMA mileage on him. We've seen him rocked. We've seen him wobbled. We've seen him dropped. We've seen a lot of things for him that aren't that great when you're looking at it. And then if you're looking at it technically, I think that Lingo is the better boxer. I think he's got the more power. I think he's the more athletic guy. He utilizes his jab, sets up his shots a little bit better, and he's going to have that power, while Landwehr is more of death by accumulation. He's going to keep pushing forward. He's going to see if he can kind of break you with pressure and cardio. And Lingo is a heavy hitter. He can definitely crack, and Landwehr is a wild man in the middle sometimes. He's trying to get a little more patient, but he's a wild man, and I think the wild hooks he's going to throw are going to open up counter opportunities for Lingo to pile up the damage, land the big shots, and possibly get a finish here. And when you're looking at it, Nate is not a guy that you want to be betting at minus 225, minus 250. I don't put him there. He's a great dog, but I don't put him as a good favorite here. And I think this line is pretty wide at this point. So I do like Austin Lingo to get the job done. It's plus 185. I think, again, he causes him more damage and either knocks him out or wins on a scorecard. But I do like that plus money on Lingo.
Man, see, Kyle does it for everyone. If you like eating chalk, he broke down the main event and said, do it there. If you like the barking dogs, he just broke down how you can bet on Lingo at a nice near 2-1 take back. And you're always giving out all this free info here on the show. And it's like you're giving it away, man. It's like stealing candy from a baby, but you're basically giving away all your plays for this weekend for free. It's like under $10 to ride with you this weekend in UFC, correct? And first things first, that is the special, correct? And second things is, how does front office let you get away with giving these plays away for under $10?
Listen, I am out here. I am ready to go this weekend. 4 plays. I dropped it down to $9. We have no UFC next weekend, so I think this is a good spot. We can make some money here, and then we got UFC 287 coming up. I already have a 5% play, which is a straight wager plus money play that I'm fired up about. So $9 this week, and then we coast ourselves into UFC 287.
Yeah, so do that $9 and then roll it on over. Grab the 5% play, though. You probably want to grab the 5% play now because it tends to move when Kyle Anthony says, hey, here's what I'm betting in UFC action. Check him out at wt.buzz/KA. Big thanks to him. And now, is there an echo in here? Are you seeing double? No, Andy Lang is coming back, auto racing, right after this here on WagerTalk Extra. Welcome on back here to WagerTalk Extra, and as promised, a little Thursday treat for you, a double dose of my man Andy Lang joining us again. Man, Andy, you're just running back and forth from the studio here today. Appreciate the effort. That's the Andy Lang difference. We're talking a little auto racing right here, and we always like leading in with some of the best mishaps from last week, and I think one stands above all. And this one actually coming from the F1 side of things. So Stenhouse Award time. Tell the folks what that's all about and who had the biggest gaffe of the weekend.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge weekend of nominees for the Stenhouse Award. We had a Bubba Wallace spins all by himself in the Atlanta race. His bad luck or lack of talent, depending on your opinion on Bubba Wallace, flared up again at the restrictor play race. He just spun all by himself and took him out of contention. But the winner, we got to go back to Formula One and the disaster that is the McLaren cars to start the F1 series. I mean, they were terrible in preseason testing, and we knew they were going to struggle. We didn't know that it was going to be this bad. So both of the cars somehow managed to damage their front wings at the beginning of the race. They both have to come in and get fixed. So in the first race, McLaren's cars were terrible, and one of them had to come in multiple times to refill some of the fluid in the engines. And Dan, the McLaren cars lead Formula One in pit stops by a mile because they keep having to come in to fix mechanical issues and body damage. Like if they didn't pit for the rest of the year, they would still probably come in first with multiple pit stops. It's been a nightmare for them. It's got a little bit of a comedy factor. You kind of feel bad for the teams and the drivers because they're working hard. But the McLaren cars and their struggles are definitely the Stenhouse Award winner this week.
Not the greatest free advertisement for McLaren vehicles there, and they're so affordable, Andy. You know, they're so you know, why not? You know, drop some money on some car that has to make multiple pit stops throughout the time, and that's for their F1 that they have scientists working on around the clock to form.
Dan, the street McLaren cars are more reliable than the Formula One cars are right now. They might complete more laps than the Formula One cars right now. Oh, so sad.
Yeah, and really the closest I'll probably ever get to driving a McLaren is in those Need for Speed games. But hey, they handle like a charm, Andy. All right, man, let's get into some actionable info here for the folks. Let's take a look at this NASCAR weekend and a little bit of an interesting course that we have coming up this weekend, and it kind of ties in with a car or you know, a team that you kind of are eyeing for a potential free bet for the folks.
Yeah, no NASCAR plays last week in Atlanta, but here we go. Road course. Now we're talking my language here. These are the courses that are very bettable. There's very, very specific guys that thrive on the road courses. So expect several plays this weekend for NASCAR. We're racing at COTA, Circuit of the Americas. This is a fairly new track to the NASCAR season. They've only raced a couple times there, so not a lot of track history. And one of the years was a pouring down rainstorm, so you can't really look at that race in particular. So we're just going based on track or road course history here. And you got to talk Chevrolets, and this is going to be my free play for this week. Chevrolet to win this race. This will be a client play. Dan, they raced 6 road courses last year, and Chevrolets won 5 of them, including this track. And then last week at the restrictor plate race, a Ford won the race. The 4 previous races, Chevrolets won. Chevrolets are great on the road courses. They've been great this year. Chase Elliott is out of the mix with his injury, so that takes away one Chevrolet, but at minus 130, this has got to be a play. Chevrolet car to win Circuit of the Americas. That is a client play on WagerTalk.com. That will be one of several plays that you can grab.
And tied in with the course preview expertise from my man Andy Lang, letting you know Chevy to win his favorite play for the weekend as a free bet here for you. And Andy, like you said, it's a road course now, baby, so we're locked and loaded. I'm sure Chevy to win won't be the only one on your betting card for the premium clients, right?
Absolutely. Should have 3, maybe 4 plays. I will definitely wait to see what happens with qualifying. And don't forget, if you've watched NASCAR before, rule changes this year with some of the pit stops. Too difficult to break down here, but the pit stops and the pit strategy is going to be very different this year, and it's going to help us as bettors because it takes away some of the volatility in the race. So very excited, very bettable track, and looking forward to getting some profits this weekend.
I love it. That's my man, Andy Lang. Check him out, wt.buzz/AL. Also this weekend has a lacrosse play that he has locked and loaded. So go check that out at Andy Lang's page right this moment. And now, I mean, if you ever wondered how much he loves you viewers, I mean, he just pulled double duty for you. So let's step aside, take a little break from Andy Lang, and get ready to talk with the Irishman on the other side right here on WagerTalk Extra. What's a better way to end the week than with the Irishman getting you some actionable info here on Thursday and a little boxing action? So let's welcome in my man, Kevin Dolan. And Kevin, finally, we're here together and we have some great games to talk about here. Make sure you check out Kevin at his page, wt.buzz/KD. We'll let you know what he has posted for this weekend in just a few. But let's get right into it because this one going on Thursday, we got a little qualifying match action between England and Italy. And I know our man Carmine Bianco is hoping this is going to go one way, but how do you see this game shaking out?
Yeah, well, obviously, big game in Naples on Thursday, Dan, for various reasons. England had that kind of willy won't-y type of scenario in terms of Gareth Southgate's position as manager after the recent World Cup. He since said he's willing to stay on as England manager for at least one more tournament after that quarterfinal exit at the World Cup at the hands of France, that relegation in the most recent Nations League as well. So the pressure's on him ahead of this tournament, especially on qualifying. And on the other side, we got Italy, previous European champions, obviously, but, they weren't even at the recent World Cup in Qatar. They weren't at the previous one in 2018 either. So, this is an important first game for them as well. And, one in which they'll obviously want to start the campaign off on the right foot at home.
Well, what do you think? Do they start the campaign off? Are you going to take either of these teams? Both of them's a nice plus money price, so really a toss-up game of who's going to win it. How do you think? And you suggest maybe the listeners and viewers should be betting this one, Kev?
It is a toss-up game, Dan, because, it's going to be a fairly emotionally charged atmosphere in the Diego Maradona. Gianluca Vialli, who sadly passed away earlier this year, back in January, I believe, pancreatic cancer. He was well loved in Italy. He helped guide this team to the championship 2 years ago. So the Italians are going to honor him in this game as a result. There's going to be a light show, a special message on their shirts as well. So, we know how important these kind of, emotional factors can play in a match. And especially as, Vialli was Italian manager Roberto Mancini's former strike partner as well. He'll demand his side show up in this one, put on a best performance in honor of the former great. But, with that said, pressure's on Southgate, as we mentioned, ahead of this qualification campaign. And England, look, man for man on the pitch, England are arguably the better team in this one as well. So I think the outright draw in this game is a major flyer, plus 217. I like the price on that. But the bet I like a bit more here is the Italy to score exactly one goal at plus 110. An Italy 1-0 win wouldn't surprise me at all in this one either. For all their talent, England have an absolutely terrible record against Italy, in international competition, especially in Italy as well, where they haven't won since 1961. So with England's historic struggles on the road against Italy, with the fact, both of these teams have solid defenses as well, plus the fact Italy have scored exactly one goal in 4 of the last 5 head-to-heads against England, in international games. I believe the Italy exact team total goals prop here, 1 goal at plus 110 is the best way to look at this one on Thursday.
Looking at the exact team total goals sitting there at 1 for Italy, my man Kevin Dolan. And for fans of stoppage time here on WagerTalk TV, that's one of our Pavlos Lagarettos. Don't care who wins specials. Just get 1 goal, and then the sweat begins for Mr. Dolan. All right, let's swing it in to your one true love, your first true love, and that's boxing, man. The best boxing handicapper we have on the slate at WagerTalk.com is my man Kevin Dolan. You can check out his plays locked and loaded right now at WagerTalk.com. But we got this Lawrence Okolie fight and David Light fight that's going Saturday evening. How are you going to be breaking this one down, Kev?
You might laugh about the one true love, Dan, but I actually left my wife on Christmas Day to go see Manny Pacquiao one year, so it really is my first love. But huge cruiserweight title fight over in London this Saturday. Lawrence Okolie is the WBO champion, and this is a mandatory challenger, New Zealander David Light, in Manchester this weekend. It's been a 13-month layoff now for Okolie. We haven't seen him in the ring since last February. He's got a change of trainers as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how he sets up on this one against a good fighter in David Light over in England this weekend.
Yeah, and Kevin, when you talk boxing, when you're willing to leave your family on a holiday for boxing, I mean, people should definitely be listening in. So, all right, so we now at least know how this one is kind of going to shape up in Manchester. But as far as a play, one of the things you really like doing, especially in our free play videos, is trying to ISO maybe when this fight is going to be able to end. So any feeling of if this is kind of mid-round, early knockout, how do you think maybe you can bet this at a plus money price?
I'm looking at around the middle rounds. David Light comes into this one with an undefeated record. He scored an upset decision against Brandon Glanton last time out as well, which, got him this shot against Okolie. But this is another level. Okolie is arguably the most dangerous man at cruiserweight right now. Under former trainer Shane McGuigan, he effectively made that transition to his current style, making the most of the tools he's been blessed with, basically. He's 6'5", he's got a huge reach as well, 82.5 inches. He's been effectively able now to bring that long right hand of his into play. 7 of his last 8 fights have all ended inside the distance. And, I don't see anything changing this weekend either. He's since switched over to Tyson Fury's trainer, Sugar Hill Stewart. But the Kronk gym is known for turning out long rangey power fighters. Think Tommy Hearns, think Lennox Lewis, Vladimir Klitschko, and so on. So while it is, Okolie's first fight under Sugar Hill here, it shouldn't be that much of a concern. As from the outside, at least, it looks a good fit. He's got all the tools needed. So I'm going to go with the Lawrence Okolie rounds 5 to 8 prop on this one, plus 160 on Saturday. I like that price. That's over a FanDuel right now. Okolie has left his former promotional banner under Eddie Hearn. He's now at Sky, so he no doubt want to go out there, make a statement in this one. But, new trainers always take a bit of time to gel. This isn't sparring, obviously. Plus we've got to factor in that 13-month layoff as well. And, Light has the ability to make this interesting early also. He's certainly no scrub. He's a former Commonwealth Games silver medalist. But at some point, I do expect Lawrence Okolie to land clean and end the fight in the middle to late rounds.
So there we go, looking for the middle rounds for Okolie to come alive. Kevin, when people head on over to your page, I know you've been doing great in the NBA as well. What are they going to find locked and loaded for this weekend's card?
Yeah, we had another NBA winner last night, Dan, another 4% winner there. If you're looking for this weekend's biggest fight, obviously, massive fight at super middleweight, David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. We got a 4% play loaded over at WagerTalk for that. Also, our soccer client plays are up for this weekend. So, absolutely massive weekend to look forward to, and excited about the weekend ahead.
I love it. That's Kevin Dolan, and that's going to wrap it for us here. Another week coming to a close here on Wager Talk Extra. Big thanks to the Irishman shutting things down for us here. And make sure you check out all of our great handicappers over at WagerTalk.com. Specials loaded now on their individual pages and on the Wager Talk deals page. Until next week, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe so you never miss any of the great shows we have here on Wager Talk TV. And we'll see you next Tuesday right here on Wager Talk Extra.